The buzzer beaters, the crowd, the Cinderellas. College basketball is a beautiful game, filled with the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. The start of every season brings a fresh start for every team and every player. A chance for teams to fold under the burden of their expectations. A chance for teams to receive redemption for a previous season that was cut shorter than they had hoped. And of course, a chance for teams and players expected to do nothing to shock the world. This channel will be dedicated to discussing and analyzing all that goes on in the college basketball world. Welcome to the CBB Report. Today, there is unfortunately lots of time until the beginning of the season on November 8th. That said, with the transfer portal winding down and declaring for the draft over, rosters are starting to take shape. With that, let's go through each conference and rank the teams. Today, let's do our too early 2022-2023 rankings for probably the toughest college basketball conference, the Big Ten. While I love ranking teams, I'm also going to do a tier list, because a lot of times with rankings, it's very marginal differences, and 8 can be 7 and 7 can be 8. But with my tiers, which I have 5 of them, are going to showcase where the divides are in terms of competitive level for each 5 tiers of college basketball programs. So there's 5 tiers. Today let's talk about the 5th tier, which is the bottom tier, and I call Feeding Frenzy. These are the clear and obvious weak links of the Big Ten. While no game in the Big Ten is an easy win, these games are the easiest teams going to get. Contenders need to win these games, as evidenced by Wisconsin blowing sole possession of the Big Ten title last year by losing to last place Nebraska on the final day. These two teams, who are in Tier 5, are at the clear bottom of the barrel in the Big Ten. Congrats, Nebraska. For the first time since the 2018-2019 season, this year you will not be in last place. That prestigious award goes to Northwestern. Sorry, Northwestern fans. Northwestern are pretty much as bad as an offseason as you could have. They lost their entire front court, that is Casey Simmons, Ryan Young, and their star player, Pete Nance Jr., the younger brother of NBA player Larry Nance. These 3 players made up 35.7% of their total scoring. Nance himself led the team in scoring with an efficient 14.6 points per game on 49.7% field goal percentage and 45.2% three-point percentage. Nance was the team's clear best player last year and served the most valuable offensive role as one of the best, if not the best, stretch 4 in the Big Ten. Who did Northwestern replace these guys with, as Nance did transfer to UNC? Well, no one really. To put it nicely, their front court went from the strong suit of the team to a real mess. Chris Collins really didn't get any replacements for the front court. They're going to give more minutes to Robbie Barron, who played 21 minutes a game last year and averaged 6.4 points per game. He also had the team's 3rd highest net rating at 14.2, but I'm not really sure on how efficient he can be with more minutes and an increased role. He won't be horrible. I wouldn't say a liability, but I just think he'll be Only standing at 6'9", not the best defensive skills, he's going to struggle to guard many of the Big Ten bigs, especially the 7-footers, which we know is kind of a Big Ten trademark. Huge centers, and Robbie Barron's going to be tasked with guarding them, and I just don't know how successful he can be. They also got Titus Verhoeven, who transferred from the UTEP Miners. He averaged 6.6 points and 4.6 rebounds there, and also stands at 6'9". Again, not a great defensive position, and I worry how he's going to transition from the UTEP Miners to Big Ten play, which is more physical, faster pace, and just obviously better opponents. The good news about Barron is he can stretch the floor with a 36% three-point shooting percentage, and he made 1 3-pointer a game last year. But Verhoeven really is a one-dimensional player, and obviously Barron is no Pete Nance Jr. And defense, these guys both aren't really adept at playing, and they're going to get really bullied by pretty much every front court in the Big Ten. For depth, they do have Matt Nicholson and new recruit Luke Hunger, but I project these guys playing very limited minutes, not doing anything. Luke Hunger is going to be a bit of a project, so this year, limited minutes, maybe play okay, but not much of an effect. So what's the good news for Northwestern? Well, there actually is some decent good news despite me having them in last place. Their backcourt is pretty strong. Boo Buie, Chase Aldridge, Ty Berry, and Julian Roper have all returned to the team and give Northwestern a very good and deep backcourt. All these guys play very good and tough defense. I expect Roper to break out and steal probably Aldridge's spot, who will probably start with the 2, and by the end of the season, Roper flashed last year a lot. He could also steal Berry's spot if Aldridge is playing well. If he has a good preseason camp, steal it before the season. All 3 of these guys but Aldridge sit in the mid-30s for three-point percentage. Boo Buie, after having a breakout season last year, will have to step it up even more. Of course, what's great about Boo Buie is he could play defense and offense, great defensively. His defense was locked down. He averaged 4.1 points per game last year. But if Northwestern wants to get out of the cellar, he's going to have to score at least 18 points per game this year. He's going to be the star player, which is good for Northwestern. They do have a star, but there's just not much support around him. Chase Audich, I'm not that high on, as I previously said. Can't really shoot the three. Can kind of facilitate, play good defense. This whole backcourt plays really good defense and might be one of the best defensive backcourts in the Big Ten, but they don't really score efficiently unless Julian Roper breaks out along with Boo Buie. Ty Berry will be fine at the three, a bit undersized, and Chase Audich, I'm just not that high on, as I said. So, despite their strong backcourt, you need a strong frontcourt to compete in the Big Ten. And they lack both strong depth and strong in the frontcourt, which is why I have them last in the Big Ten. Boo Buie and hopefully the emergence of Julian Roper can only do so much for this team. But I don't think this team will be horrible, just the worst team in the Big Ten. In 13th place, and actually the best team in Tier 5, which is the worst tier, I'm going to have Nebraska. Sorry, Nebraska fans, but your short-lived journey up the Big Ten rankings ends here. Last year, Nebraska finished last, but they actually had pretty strong ISO scoring. The McGowan brothers, both Bryce and Trey, could get buckets, though rather inefficiently, but Bryce, of course, was drafted for the 40th pick of the draft to the Hornets. They also had Alonzo Verge Jr., who's a very strong scorer, a blue chip guy, was tough inside. But what doomed them last year was their atrocious defense. Their 1.05 team defensive efficiency was good for 299th best in college basketball. Yes, that's right, 299th best. So I will give Nebraska the bad news first. The McGowan brothers and Alonzo Verge Jr. are gone, and that's 52% of Nebraska's points last year. But I think I bumped them up because they had a really good, in the rankings from 14th to 13th, they had a really sneaky good offseason that should give them a much improved defense. Though they lost 3 ISO scores, and the offense will probably fall off, Fred Hoiberg, their head coach, can implement a more team-oriented system. After all, last year, their .983 team offensive efficiency was only good for 210th out of college basketball teams, so they weren't great. They just had kind of good ISO scores. Transfers Emmanuel Bondumel, Sam Griesel, and Juwan Gary should help bolster their depth. And freshman high 4-star recruit Rommel Lloyd Jr. can be an interesting piece off the bench. CJ Wilcher was offensively great and efficient off the bench last year. He shot 40% from 3 and had a true shooting percentage of 60.2%, which is second on the team. And he can break out now with a starting spot. He might be their go-to scorer this year. Derek Walker, despite being a smaller center, can fight inside of most bigs. And Northeastern transfer Wilhelm Breedenbach should help them defensively off the bench to bolster the defense. SMU transfer Emmanuel Bondumel will help the backcourt defensively, as he was really good defense at SMU and should fit right into a starting spot at the point. He's also a solid scorer. North Dakota State transfer Sam Griesel should also fit in with Fred Hoiberg's system at the 2. He had a great season last year with a ridiculous 117 offensive rating. Of course, this was on North Dakota State, but still, and a 17.6 net rating on 58.8% true shooting. He could shoot the 3 ball he shot last year at a 38% clip. Then you add in Juwan Gary, the Alabama transfer, returning player Kisa Tominaga, and Blaze Kita, the 3-star recruit, and the other 3-star recruit, Jamarcus Lawrence. And you don't have bad depth on these teams. All these guys will get minutes in the rotation as bench pieces, and this bench will be much improved, especially defensively, where Nebraska struggled. Fred Hoiberg clearly decided to key in on the defensive side, and I think it worked. The team has obviously a lot of flaws. Who's going to take the ISO scoring? Can this team work on a team-oriented offense? How good will their defense actually be? And they're going to need to gel with all the new pieces and figure out their best rotation. But good transfer pickups, good recruits should have Nebraska fans at least a little more excited about the season. To be even further this point is improvement. They ended last season on a high, actually, winning their last 2 games. I think they continue some of that momentum. And their increased depth in the defense should be just good enough to take them out of the cellar of the Big Ten and right onto the first step of Tier 5, looking up to Tier 4. That's my Big Ten rankings for Tier 5. Stay tuned for Tier 4, Tier 3, and Tier 2, and Tier 1. I just want to break all 5 tiers up so they can be slightly shorter videos around the 9-10 minute mark. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Follow the TikTok CBB report. Subscribe. Let me know your thoughts in the comments too. Where was I right and where do you think I went wrong? Let me know down below, and thank you for watching. Have a good day.